So, welcome to Beauty of Colors podcast, Thomas. It's great to have you on the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me. What's your weather
Oh,
like where you are?
it is raining. It is
Well,
windy.
okay, me too. So we got miserable weather, so we'll start right there, right?
Yeah. So, Thomas, tell the listeners about you and what is your story?
Well, my wife passed away in 2019 from breast cancer in August 2019.
I'm so sorry.
And several months after that, friend of mine, college fraternity brother, actually a doctor in Florida, retired, called me and did check on me and see how I was doing. Wanted to know if I was keeping a journal, and I work in advertising and marketing or have.
Mhm.
And so I'm on the computer. So I started just basically getting up in the morning and typing in how I felt. And then when I went to bed at night, what happened during the day. And he asked me to me the notes. And I said, well, they're just notes. Some of them aren't sentences, words. I mean, I just put stuff in. So I sent it to him. And about 2 weeks later, he called me back and he said, Tom, he said, you got to write a book, bud. And I said, well, Doc, you were with me in college and I sat in English class next to me. I didn't pay attention. So how could I write a book?
Mhm.
Uh, so he kept on me a little bit and my son also. And it was COVID year. So it was February, March, cold, miserable, rotten weather. And you couldn't go out because of COVID and you couldn't have people in because of COVID. So you're here alone. So I thought, hey, what the heck? I'll write a book. So I did. And it wasn't bad. I read it. I thought this isn't too bad. So I'm advertising marketing, so I thought, well, I'll self-publish it, which I did. I printed a couple hundred copies and I gave away to friends, and I thought I'd sell a few maybe to pay for it. Uh, I kind of caught lightning in a bottle.
Mhm.
Um, a Kiwanis Club asked me to come speak. That was my first speech. It's 110 speaking engagements later, so you
Mhm.
can see what happened. Like I say, I self-published it at first, but then after I did that, I got cocky and thought I'd write a novel, and
Mhm.
I found a publisher for that, and they found out of my balloon in a box coping with grief book and wanted that and wanted me to do a second edition, so I did that. So I have a publisher for that. So here I am, 83 years old, with a whole new career as an author and a speaker, and speaking to lovely people like you.
Wow, that is lovely. That is a story. So, what started you on this journey is because your friend told you to keep a journal and you started writing.
Right,
Okay, excellent.
right, right.
So what is the names of your books? I know you have more than one. So what
Okay,
are the names of your book? And tell us a little bit about them.
okay. Well, the book that started all this, okay, is called Balloon in a Box: Coping with Grief. And
Hmm.
it's my journey of grief. And I don't call it a journey of grief, I call it a journey of love, because without love, there is no grief. You don't grieve for somebody you didn't love. And that's kind of the theme of my speaking. I try to tell people, hey, you're on a journey of love, you're not a journey of grief. And we make it uplifting. I wrote a novel. The novel is called The Secret is in the Pasta. It's a murder mystery that takes place in an Italian restaurant.
Mm.
Uh, prior to all this, my wife and I had been on TV for 13 years, back in 1990 to 2003,
Okay.
doing a cooking segment on the Fox, our Fox affiliate here,
Hmm.
morning show. Every Wednesday we did a cooking thing. And so we wrote two cookbooks.
Hmm.
After she died, my son uh, and I finished the third cookbook. And my granddaughter came to us and she said, she's a theater major. She
Hmm.
came and said, I want to do like you and grandma did on TV. So we started doing a little YouTube program called Cooking Together Generations. Our
Okay.
first cookbooks were cooking together with Tom and Joyce. So we started a little thing called Cooking Together Generations. So yeah, I've got three cookbooks, a novel, the Balloon in the Box book. I'm working on a couple, two or three others right now, but I mean, 'cause now I've got the bug. And
Okay.
all the experiences I've had meeting people and talking to people, my appearances is unbelievable, the stories I've heard. So I'm going to try to share a little bit of that stuff that I've heard and understand. So that's where I am again.
Okay. So the first book is an autobiography, is that correct? About your life and your wife?
Yeah, kind of. It's a little bit of both. It's what I learned from my grief. I
Mhm.
guess the best way to say it is, like I said, it's not a journey of grief, it's a journey of love. You're going to go on that journey. You can't stop it. But maybe I think maybe I can take a few of the bumps on the road and a few of the potholes by
Mm-hmm.
what I've learned and what I did and how I cope with it, how I started coping with it, how I continue to cope with it. So that's kind of that part. Yes, and then there's our stories with my wife. Well, I also facilitate grief groups, and one of the things I always ask the grief group is that I said, "Tell me about your first date," and I get what I got right there from you, just a little smile. Uh, and people share those stories of their first date. And they're always interesting stories. Usually they're funny. Something funny happens. Uh, my stories in my book, it takes like 3 pages to explain. But so that, I share that part. I share the things that we did. I share some of my stories with my grief, what happened to me. Well, I'll give you an example. One was been a bit in November. She died in August, and I spent 3 months in what I call my black dark period. I was in the depths. I didn't care. I didn't want anything. I didn't do anything. Feeling sorry for myself, angry, lonely, all of that. Finally, one night I call it my epiphany, where I suddenly realized that I can't go on like this. My wife's favorite saying was, "It is what it is, put on your big boy pants and deal with it." So I could hear her telling me that. So anyhow, this was in late November, right before Thanksgiving, actually. My kids came and said, "Hey, Dad, you go ahead and make the turkey like you always do." I mean, we always had it at our house. Our house is bigger.
Mhm.
And we'll bring everything out. So it's Thanksgiving Eve. And I'm in our little kitchen, and I've got my little glass of wine sitting up on the counter, and I got that turkey, and I'm stuffing that bird with all the herbs and fruit and everything I stick in it. And I tie the legs, and I need a finger to hold that so I can tie that knot.
Mhm.
And she wasn't there. And I'm crying and I'm laughing because it was our standard joke every Thanksgiving. I would do that. She would put her finger there, I'd tie the knot, and then she'd kind of zing me and say, "Well, who helped you tie your Boy Scout knots?" In fact, my wife was a brunette, big brown eyes, and I think one time I told her it's a little blue-eyed blonde, and I think I got a dish right side of the face. But that was the kind of life that we had, and so that was a tough moment, but it was also a happy moment because then I remembered all the good things. So that's what I try to do. So I explained that in the book. Um, I also explained that I kicked God out of my life, and when I started on my journey to come back, I had to ask him to help me. That's in the book. So a little bit of everything. I share some stories from people about their losses, and I understand losing a spouse. I cannot understand losing a child. No way. No way can I understand that. I share a story of a lady who lost a son in a fire. Um, had to stand in her front yard holding one of her children while the house burned down with the other child in it. Her husband on the road thinking, "I've got to call my husband and tell him we don't have a house and our son's gone." Share that kind of a story. I share one of my buddies, a good friend that lost a son, was swimming. Three boys, and one of them, young man got hit in the head with the canoe when it flipped over. So I share some of those stories. They're brief stories. I also share some of the happy stories. I share some of the first date stories that people told me, and funny stories they told me about their spouse. So it's a combination of everything. We say autobiography. Yeah, it's a little autobiography, but some of it's just I help people. I try to help people. When you stand in that line at the funeral home to go through a visitation, and you go, "What am I going to say when I get up to the family? What am I going to say when I get there?" We had about 460 some people go through, um, and all the things I heard. And I tell people the things you shouldn't say, and maybe the things you want to say. I tell people, please don't go up to the person and say, "How are you doing?" Because you really don't want to know how they're doing. You know,
Mhm.
um, please don't tell me that God needed her up there more than you needed her down here. Oh, I'm sorry. I always tell people God's got a whole bunch of people. I just wanted one. Um, bottom line, what I tell everybody is, I say the best thing you can say is just give them a hug and say, "I love you." Because when you say "I love you," you say everything. You say "I'm here for you." Yeah, the whole thing. Um, Also in my speaking engagements, I make everybody say out loud, all together, "I love you."
Mhm.
because we don't say that enough. I mean, we take it for granted. Yeah, we love our husband, we love our wife, we love her, but we don't tell them all the time, which we should.
Mhm.
Um, I tell your friends you love them, because someday they will, they're not, it's inevitable. We're born and we die.
Mhm.
So during that period, however long it is, we have to share that love. So that's me now. Um,
Wow.
well,
Um, yeah. So Thomas, the cookbooks, what recipes are in there? Is it plant-based recipes? Are they a mixture of different kinds of recipes, or do you have a specific type of recipe in your cookbooks?
no. Well, now I got to back up and start the story again, right? Uh, I like to cook on the weekends when, I'm talking back in the 80s, okay? Now, I'm an old man, so you got to remember that. So I'm talking about in the 80s.
Mhm.
I like to cook on the weekends. I mean, I couldn't during the week, but I'd like to. So I experiment with things and do things. One year, my sister bought me a wok for Christmas, and I started cooking Chinese. And had a friend that he liked to do it, and we'd get together as couples and go out to dinner and cook at each other's homes. And I told him about it, so he got into it. We have a local college here, and there was a thing in the paper where a gal was teaching a Chinese cooking class at the school. It was part of her grade in the class. She had
Mhm.
to teach a class. So we decided to take the class, and we did. I think it was 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I don't remember. And we were out to dinner with our wives, and
Mhm.
one of them said, "Well, hey, you guys never said anything. How was your Chinese cooking class?" And being the smart Alex we were, we said, "Oh, it was okay, but we could have done better." 2 weeks later, we're out for dinner, and my friend's wife says, "Oh, by the way, you guys are teaching a Chinese cooking class at the YWCA." We said, "Wait, wait, wait, what do you mean?" "Yeah, it's already signed up. It's already a newsletter. We're already getting people to sign up." So I guess we have to, we have to do it. So we did it. And he and I did the one class and thought it'll go away. Well, they
Mhm.
kept getting calls for us to do it. So he and I did about 3 or 4 of them. And then he retired and moved to Florida, and they kept calling and wanting to do them. I didn't want to do them by myself, but I finally talked my wife into it. The last thing she wanted to do is stand up in front of people. But she did it, and we did it well, we did it for the Y. We did about 5 years,
Mhm.
twice a year.
Mhm.
During that time, we wrote the cookbook. My son knew somebody at the television studio and got him the book, and we went over and did an interview on the morning show and cooked a recipe. And we got home, and the producer called us back and said, "Would you come once a month?" And we said, "Okay." And so we went, and then all of a sudden it was once a week. So now
Mhm.
we can't do Chinese cooking every week.
Yeah.
So we started thinking about, well, the audience was at 7:30 in the morning. So it was young families getting ready to go to school. So
Mhm.
we started doing recipes that were what we call quick and easy, most of them. Um, those kind of recipes. And that actually is the second. The first cookbook was cooking together Chinese style.
Mhm.
The second one is cooking together quick and easy. And then the one that my son helped me with after Joyce. Well, Joyce and I kind of started it.
Mhm.
It's a little more sophisticated recipes, maybe a little more complicated, not all quick and easy.
Mhm.
Um, and so and it's called Cooking Together Rewritten.
Oh, rewritten. Okay.
So some of the recipes from the Quick and Easy book are in there. They're expanded, they're changed.
Mhm.
A lot of new recipes. So those are the 3 cookbooks. Yeah.
Okay. And you said your granddaughter was working on another cookbook. You working another one, you said,
No,
or
no, no. We do a YouTube thing called Cooking the Other Generations.
oh, okay,
Uh,
okay.
we might, who knows, we might come up with a cookbook out of that with recipes we do.
Okay.
The cooking together thing just comes and goes. We do
Mhm.
5 or 6 episodes, and then we both, well, she has a job and my son has a job. So, and I kind of do, now with all the speaking things. So, our time is limited. So when we get time, we do 2 or 3 uh, episodes and then post them on Facebook.
Okay.
Um, it's kind of a fun thing. It's live. Whatever happens, happens. If we
Mhm.
drop it on the floor, we drop it on the floor. We don't edit.
Yeah.
Uh, we tease each other. We make mistakes. We talk about those. the recipes are all usually pretty good, but
Mhm.
sometimes our methods in getting to the end aren't the way we plan them. Um, so it's kind of just a fun thing. It's great for a guy like me to be able to spend that kind of time with my son and my granddaughter.
That's nice.
So it's a fun thing.
That's good. That's nice.
Yeah.
So, Thomas, where can the listeners get in touch with you, and how can they get copies of your books, your cookbook, and your other two books? And do you have any speaking engagements coming up pretty soon?
Well, okay. First question is, I have a website,
Mhm.
www.thomaslrose.com. That's simple.
Mhm.
The Balloon in a Box book is on there. Uh, the cookbooks are on there. The novel's on there. The novel and the Balloon in a Box book are on Amazon. So it's Balloon in a Box, Coping with Grief, and the novel is The Secret is in the Pasta. Those are both on Amazon. Uh, my speaking engagements coming up, I'm looking over at the calendar. I actually have one this afternoon here, that close by. Uh, I have one over, I'm in northern Indiana. I
Okay.
have one over towards Fort Wayne, Indiana later this month at Winamac, Indiana. I have one in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I have a big book signing at a bookstore,
Mm-hmm.
or actually it's a coffee shop
Mm-hmm.
locally. I have one, actually I have two of those.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a big, I, as a result of the speaking engagements and everything, I did a program here locally in the theater. We have a refurbished theater, gorgeous,
Mm-hmm.
uh, which was a bigger program. We called Life Continues, Embrace the Change. And we had about 300 people.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we had organizations, senior organizations, basically there, caregivers, hospice people, all those kind of people. Uh, uh, Nonprofit organizations were there that the people could talk to afterwards. As a result, I became a member of a group called it's called ACOM. It's Aging Connections of Michiana, which is Northern Indiana, where I met all the people in the senior business, so to speak, the caregivers. God
Mm-hmm.
bless them, the retirement communities, all those people. And so I do a lot of health fairs where I go. Sometimes I just sell my book, sometimes I speak.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, I am facilitating grief programs at two or three retirement communities.
Mm-hmm.
I am on the National Speakers Bureau. Right now, I think everything's not until fall. I'm not sure the dates. I've got, on the speakers thing, they schedule them about 6 months out. So I don't
Oh.
really get concerned about it until they get close. They're on the
Mhm.
calendar, but I can't see it. So I know I have a couple in the fall, in Ohio and in Kentucky. Like I say, I'm in Northern Indiana. I think there's one in Chicago.
Mhm.
Uh, so I've got those going on too. So.
Okay. Sounds good. You're a busy, busy man.
Well, yeah, you know what I'm going to do too? I'm going
Uh-huh.
to do a podcast like you, I think. I've been offered the opportunity to have a studio that's
Mhm.
gorgeous studio with
Mhm.
a table, four microphones, all the sound, all the equipment's there just to run. And that's a big church has it. And they just said, hey, you want to use it? It sits there most of the time. They said, we use it 3 hours a week. All the rest of the
Mhm.
time it's yours. So I'm working on something there, I think. I think I'll do one called My Life Continues, Embrace the Change. And I think I'll interview people who
Mhm.
things have happened to that have changed their lives and how it's changed their lives, whether it's, like I say, a handicap. Man lost his leg and I've talked to him a lot and he's making the adjustment. He was a very athletic person before, all these things. Now he can't do a lot of the things he used to do, but his life's changing, but he's embracing it. He's moving forward. He's finding the things to do.
Wow,
So,
that's
so
nice. Yeah.
maybe have those kind of people on. So.
Yeah, that's good. You're doing really good for the community, and you're telling people about the message and about grief and moving on. And you're not just you're 83, you said?
Yes.
And you're still going, and that is good. Keep going
Well,
and what you're doing because you
yeah, well,
love it.
you know what I tell everybody? I tell everybody I keep moving as fast because the Grim Reaper's back there someplace, and if I keep moving, maybe he can't catch me. If I stop, he might catch me. So no, I
Mm.
don't know whether I have months, 6 months, 6 years, or 10 years. What I've got, but what I've got, I'm gonna be happy. I'm gonna enjoy, and I'm gonna share. I'm
That's
gonna love people. So
that's great, Thomas.
yeah.
So, Thomas, do you have any last words for the listeners about coping with grief?
Yeah. When you know somebody's coping with the grief, is going through it, please don't try to fix it. You can't fix it. I say that I learned that the griever needs three things. And if you remember this when somebody's grieving, just remember this, that they need to find the words, they need to say the words, and they didn't know that they've been heard. That's all. That's all I wanted. I didn't want somebody to tell me anything. I wanted people to listen. My heart was breaking. I think it was Bishop Sheen that said, and I'll probably get it wrong, but something roughly like, in order to get into someone's heart, sometime God has to break it. And he broke mine. He broke it in 1,000 pieces, and he got into it. So yeah, I guess those are the things I would share. Yeah, just sit down with your friend and just let them talk. Just listen to them. Don't tell them like one person told me, this lady told me, I know somebody, he lost his wife and he lost his father all in 2 week period of time. I just want to look at her and say, that's supposed to make me feel better because he lost two people and I only lost one. I really, it's cruel to say, but I wanted to just say to her, I really don't care. I'm the one that's, I don't care. Yeah, I feel sorry for him. Okay, but that doesn't help me, you know. Uh, so yeah, just listen to them. Just, want to talk with them, but share, don't try to fix it because you can't. They're going to grieve, their heart's broken. It's going to stay broken. I tell everybody, I'm getting my heart put back together, but there's always one big piece of it's missing that'll never be there. That I'm going to go through the rest of my life with that chunk of my heart, missing. So that's me.
Wow. Wow, Thomas. Well, thank you for being in Beauty of Colors podcast.
Thank you for having me, dear.